Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel today. We're going to be looking at some rather disturbing news in today's video that's coming out of the Eastern European region and why this could lead to World War III in the worst case scenario, because what could happen here could trigger Article 5 under NATO. Article 5 is that if one NATO country is attacked, all NATO countries are therefore attacked. And we've only actually seen this occur once before. And just to show you President Biden's statement on this, it says, and again, I realize I haven't told you what's going to happen yet, but the USA says that if this did occur, it would send the full force of the US military against Russia. And my concern now is that it looks like this may occur. So this is what we are talking about then. Lithuania has in effect created a blockade on a Russian, I guess we can call it, outpost known as Kaliningrad. Now I'm just going to go to the maps because a lot of people won't know where this is. So here we have maps then. This is Russia. We then have Belarus, which is a partner to Russia. We then have these three countries, so Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. Now there's actually a corridor that goes between Belarus and what is classed as Russia, although it's not exactly Russia, it's more of a Russian outpost, which is this region here. You don't often hear about this region talked about on any maps, but this is called Kaliningrad, and it's a strategic Russian outpost in Europe, absolutely crucial. This region is heavily fortified with all sorts of weaponry, troops, very advanced missile systems, and most worryingly, nuclear weapons are in this region here. Now, the other thing that's quite crucial is that there is a corridor between Poland here and Lithuania here. So it goes from Belarus to the Kaliningrad region here. Now, we're actually going to go back in time, and I've had this article for a while because I always thought this could be a risk. So we're going to go back to almost 4 months ago now, actually, because this was the start of March. And this was an article. It says, NATO must prepare to defend its weakest point, the Suwalki corridor. Now, let's go down and see this. So again, you can see March 3rd, 2022. The Suwalki corridor, also known as the Suwalki Gap, separates the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad on the Baltic Sea from Belarus, now host to thousands of Russian troops and soon home to permanently stationed Russian forces, including advanced fighter jets and nuclear weapons. It is also the only way to get by road or rail from Poland and Central Europe to the Baltic states, arguably NATO's most exposed members. So again, if we go back to the maps here and we see that if Russia, and again I'm going to spoiler alert here, but if Russia were to go into Lithuania as well as Ukraine, this would cut off Estonia and Latvia by land. Now you might say, Neil, what do you mean? Why would they possibly go into Lithuania? Well, I'll show you in a moment. A Russian move to seize control of the corridor may seem far-fetched, as it would explicitly involve an attack on NATO territory, triggering a US military response. We already know what that will be. President Biden has said that he will send the full force of the US military against Russia. A move that I think would be absolute crazy. There would be complete and utter World War III and nuclear weapons flying all over the place. So let's hope it doesn't happen, because that would pretty much be the end. But here it is. Kaliningrad has been a Russian territory since the end of World War II, and it's now home to substantial Russian combat forces, including the Russian Baltic Fleet, advanced air defenses, mobile nuclear capable Iskander-M missiles. Given this, Russia is particularly sensitive to any perceived threats to its control of the non-contiguous territory and might risk escalation if it interpreted NATO's actions near Kaliningrad. Obviously, seizing the corridor would entail attacking Lithuania or Poland or both, leading directly to a war between NATO and Russia. So why am I saying that this is a worry then? Well, because Lithuania has just made an announcement. This was 3 days ago now, and this is Russia's response to that announcement. The Russian Foreign Ministry has responded to Lithuania's partial blockade of Kaliningrad, writing in a statement that they consider the provocative measures to be openly hostile and warning that the Kremlin may take action to protect its national interests. So what is being blocked then? Coal, advanced technology, metals and construction materials. If in the near future cargo transit between the Kaliningrad region and the rest of the territory of the Russian Federation through Lithuania is not restored in full, then Russia reserves the right to take actions to protect its national interests. What do you think that means? And Russia released this full statement here, but they're basically very upset about Lithuania blocking transport between Russia, Belarus and this region. Earlier Monday, the Kremlin called Lithuania's announcement unprecedented and in violation of everything there is. The situation is more than serious as it requires a very deep analysis before formulating any measures and decisions. Lithuanian Foreign Minister said they were simply complying with sanctions imposed by the EU and that they were taken after consultation with the European Commission and under its guidelines. Sanctioned goods will no longer be allowed to transit through Lithuanian territory. Kaliningrad governor says that the ban, which was confirmed on Friday, affects roughly 50% of all imports. He urged citizens not to panic buy, but to no avail. So this is what we saw as a result. Panic buy-in throughout stores. Quite possibly the biggest Russia-West provocation of the entire 4-month-long war in Ukraine has occurred this weekend. But few in the media establishment seem to be taking notice of this event, which has the potential to quickly spiral towards a World War III scenario. And again, we can see Russia here. This is Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and then we have Belarus here and Ukraine to the southeast here. This larger country here is Poland. This is the Baltic Sea, and this is Kaliningrad. Russian officials and media have long warned against what they dubbed Western aims to blockade Kaliningrad. Crucially, the EU enforcement measure being implemented from Vilnius marks a complete break in a 3-decade-long treaty that's been in effect. So this is the treaty that they are referring to. This is the Russian-Lithuanian treaty regarding Kaliningrad. Brussels then ruled out sanctioned goods and cargo should still be prohibited even if they travel from one part of Russia to another part of Russia, but EU territory. So this is really the dispute. Russia's saying, well, we're just transporting our goods, which, yes, you have sanctioned or banned or whatever. Yes, we're just transporting them from one part of Russia to another part of Russia. So in Moscow's eyes, this is tantamount to laying economic siege to part of Russia's sovereign territory and 1 million of its citizens. Now, this is the key point here. When the EU first proposed the blockage of goods as part of the last major sanctions package in early April, Kremlin officials warned of war, given Moscow would have to break the blockade for the sake of its citizens. So this is if they did stop goods being transported into the region. Statements from the West about a possible blockade of Kaliningrad is testing the waters, but Russia can break the blockade in case these threats become a reality. This is the statement from Russia. And you know what that means? It means military intervention, i.e. sending troops into Lithuania. And they are saying in case of a blockade, which is now occurred, the Soviet Union knows how to break the blockades. We, the Russian successor of the Soviet Union, have vast experience, the senator said. If they want to go to the length of making us break this blockade to save the lives of our people who live there, we can do this. He then expressed hope that the West will have enough brains to opt against this. So you can see how they're viewing this, how Russia is viewing this. They are viewing it as an attack on their sovereignty, and that they are simply, you know, if they did take an action, they would simply be restoring their sort of route between the region. So they are not looking at it the same way the West is looking at it. And this is the thing that I think could tip us over the edge here and lead to more conflict. And if this were to happen to go through Lithuania, Article 5 under NATO would be triggered, and then this is when all hell breaks loose. So Russia considers these steps to be illegal and may entail far-reaching implications for Lithuania and the EU. They also cited a key condition that was part of Lithuania's 2004 accession into the EU. He quoted the prior agreement saying that the Baltic state will apply in practice the principle of freedom of transit of goods, including energy, between the Kaliningrad region and the rest of Russian territory. In particular, we confirm that there shall be freedom of such transit and that the goods in such transit shall not be subject to unnecessary delays or restrictions and shall be exempt from custom duties and transit duties or other charges related to transit. So again, we can see that they are using this original 2004 treaty as the basis for how they see this under international law. So they are seeing Lithuania as now breaking that treaty, that agreement. So as a result of all of this then, we know that NATO is sending a lot of troops to that region. And this is going to be a key battleground in the future if something does occur here, which is looking likely that it could. So this now explains why there are so many troops being sent to that region, because this is, if this escalates, this is where you're going to have a large battle between NATO forces and Russian forces. It is not looking good, I can tell you that. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope that explains today the situation that has been escalating over the weekend now, and why, if this doesn't de-escalate and if really the ball is in Russia's court now, also in Lithuania's court, to either reverse the decision or for Russia to then take the next action, which would be some sort of troop movement to break this blockade, as they're calling it. Either way, it is not looking good, and this could move us into the next stage of this conflict. And as always, I for one hope that we see de-escalation and that this can all be resolved peacefully, but it isn't looking likely at this stage. It is looking like more escalation. So thank you so much for watching today, ladies and gents. Take care, God bless. I will see you tomorrow.